Hello, I'm Rick Bayshard, and thank you for visiting my channel. Today I would like to discuss with you the course's discussion of special relationships. In the last video I discussed special hate relationships, but today I'm going to be discussing special love relationships. When I was a kid, the whole idea of the word special had a little bit different meaning for me, in the sense that if something or somebody was special, it implied to me that they had more importance, more relevance. But I think it's important, as we understand, when the Course uses the word special, that we remind ourselves that in this world everybody is special. Whether they are our parent, a colleague, somebody who we put in jail, or our lover. So that's one thing to make note of regarding the special, the word special. But the idea of the word special love in this relationship, in this video, is that we have the love of God, but the love in the world of the ego is special in the sense that it's not love at all. And we're generally unaware of that. I mean, what the world considers love is, what we see around us all the time in relationships with people, especially those relationships that we would consider romantic relationships. People meet each other, they have this passion and so on, and we call that love. So the problem with special love relationships, in the sense that it's not love at all, is this. When we come into this world of time and space and people and so on, we've left our source. We've technically left love with respect to what the Course is saying regarding its metaphysics. Okay? We believe we've killed God, if we're specifically accurate about it. Now, we haven't, of course, but within that dream state, we've left love. We've killed love. Okay? So here we are in this world as bodies, and of course we have the experience that something is completely missing. There's this underlying lack that we have, that we want to fill, that void. And generally speaking, in the world that we're in, we feel that in a myriad amount of ways. I mean, through food, through trying to have a job that makes us look important, or trying to have an address that makes us look rich, or having a right body so that people admire us and so on. But one fundamental way of trying to fill that lack in this world is through the relationships we would call our romantic relationships. And so the Course is telling us that method, the ego method, okay, special love, is really what we're doing is it's a substitute for the love that we believe we've lost. And we're unaware of that. So because we're in this world as bodies with people all around us, and we have that lack, the romantic relationships we have with people, the ones we would call lovers, our husbands and wives, or partners, are really a substitute, again, for the love that we feel that we're missing. But the problem with those relationships, and why they're really not loving at all, it's really another form of special hate, is because of this. They look completely different. We can be kind, we remember people's birthdays, we say sweet things about them. But our underlying motivation, generally speaking, to be involved with someone in a romantic way is because we are trying to satisfy that underlying lack that we have. We're trying to fill it with the love that we believe we're missing, completely forgetting that our inherent nature is love, completely unaware of that. So we get involved with people romantically, but our motivation and our purpose for doing that is not loving. We believe this person has something that we want. They have the love that we're missing, and we want to get it. And so that right away is the fundamental basis of why it's not love at all, because love does not go after something to get anything. Love just is. It goes to share. But we don't do that, and we're unaware of what's going on. So we meet somebody, and we have the chemistry, we have the vibe, it all feels very good. And we immediately think, because we're unaware of the Course's of metaphysics, that, oh, this feeling is so wonderful that love has suddenly arrived in my life. I don't want to lose this excitement, this passion. Everything is wonderful. The glass of wine, and a car drive is wonderful. The sex is amazing. And we have this high. But this high is really an ego high because our needs are being met. It's feeling that, temporarily at least, that void that we all have within us. And we mistakenly call that love. And of course, we don't want to lose that, right? I mean, that feels so good. So once I've identified somebody in my life that is going to fill that void, suddenly now I have to be very careful. I don't want to lose that. And remember, the Course would clearly say we are going outside of ourselves to get love, which is insanity. Love is us. So if I've gone outside of myself and I found someone that I'm having this experience with, and it feels so good, I now have a fear that I could lose this. I mean, I really need to make sure that the love that I found, quote unquote, in you is something that stays with me. And so we do all kinds of things that technically aren't loving. We suddenly begin to be a little less dishonest. Suddenly we don't tell this person something about us because I think that maybe if I tell you about this, that you'll run to the hills and you'll leave and you'll take that love with you. And I don't want to lose that. It's so nuanced. I mean, suddenly maybe I go to the gym a little more often, or I try to anticipate what you want to hear. I play nice. But all of it is a covert mechanism to try to get you to be in my life, to satisfy my ego need, to fill that lack that I believe that I'm missing. Back in the 90s, I listened to Dr. Kenneth Wapnick's workshop called The Web of Specialness. And it was alarming to me, maybe that's not the right word, astonishing to me to recognize that's exactly what I do. Or, to go after somebody who makes me feel good about myself and try to manipulate them and suddenly be dishonest in many ways in order to capture the love that I'm missing. And this is what the world calls love. Now, I know that the romance part of a new relationships in this world is really wonderful. And it's not that we shouldn't have that experience. But we want to kind of be aware that as I approach somebody new and it feels good, not to necessarily dismiss that. We want to enjoy that passion, but to at the same time understand that that passion, that high is really an ego high, again, because my needs are being met. And if we're aware of that, because that high is going to fade, it doesn't last. And then we think love is lost, but it's not. We want to be with somebody in this world in a way that to join with them, to share that common purpose that we all have of undoing our ego. And it's hard to do that because the need to fill that lack is so powerful. And I think that we want to, again, be aware of that. Because as you can see in the relationships that we have with everybody, especially the lovers, that we don't trust the love that we think we have. We suddenly have all these rules and regulations. Just look at our wedding vows, death to us part, you won't sleep with anybody else, you'll only love me, everybody else is left aside, you can't love anybody else. Because we're so afraid that if you do these things, you'll love me less. So right away, I'm putting you in a box because I've got to manage the love because I don't want to lose it. Can you imagine? I mean, this is what we do and we call that love. I mean, I often say to people when I talk about relationships, and this is a tough one because, when I ask people who are in a relationship, if you love somebody, do you not want that person's happiness? Most people initially say, yeah, because they know where this is going. Because if your happiness, and if I'm involved in a relationship with you, is that your happiness means that you no longer choose to be in a relationship with me as the world would see it, then I should nod my head and say, whatever you like. Because that's what love would do. Yes, the form of my relationship with you might change, but it doesn't mean I have to love you less. But we get so caught up in this world about what it's going to look like because we're trying to measure if the love that I've gone after in you is safe with me. And so I put all these rules on it, and it's a lot of work. You got to remember my birthday, I got to remember our anniversary, you didn't say goodnight. I mean, all these nuanced things and we're so thin-skinned, and it's just, I think that all of us are aware of how we operate in this world with respect to those relationships we would call our lover romantic relationships. Now, I think that, yes, we're all afraid in one sense being in these early relationships, in these romantic relationships, because we all do believe love has left us, excuse me. But, it doesn't mean, again, that we would not want some initial rules in a relationship because we're afraid. But the idea of having a commitment whereby you have to do this and you have to do that, we should pay attention to that. Because, in my film Love's Journey, which is in my channel here, you'll see it. I was talking about this with Dr. Kenneth Wapnick. And we were talking about being in a relationship where we have commitments. And he said something that I thought was just beautiful. And he said, if I'm in a relationship with you, the commitment that I'm going to make is really a commitment to myself. That I will be as loving and kind as possible. Whatever that might look like. Now, as humans with egos, that's very hard to do. If you want somebody else's happiness, you have to mean that. But, again, it doesn't mean I wouldn't feel sad if I said that to somebody and they actually did step away from me or whatever. But now the feelings of sadness I would have, I would own, in the sense that look at me, how foolish I am thinking that I'm losing love. You can love somebody whether they are your wife or not. Or the love that you have for everybody in this world, parent, colleague, child, lover, okay, from the Course in Miracles perspective, in content would be the same. And that content is that these people can be who they are, and we will honor who they are, and we won't have an underlying need that they be different. Now, as a parent, you're still going to guide your children and so on, but an attitude you would do that would be loving. But the goal is to be with people without the underlying need that they be what we need them to be for us to feel safe. And that's what we primarily do in our romantic relationships. And then we wonder why they don't work. There's no freedom of spirit. Now again, two people come together, you can have conversations and honor the fact that we're both afraid and have some rules in place. But, with special love relationships, we want to at least initially recognize that when we meet somebody, that we often go to them to get something that's missing within us. And it's important to remind ourselves that nothing in us is missing. So we want to, again, go to people to join and share that common purpose that we're all in this world seemingly together, to try to undo the ego and to have that sharing of purpose. Not because it is your job to make me happy, because it's not. But that's how we see it. And this is what the Course is referring to as special love. Because again, I love you if, I love you when. We cannot call that love. We want love. We want people to love us the way God would love us. And then, to the extent that we are able to do that, be with people in form, the way like everybody else is. You're still going to have an argument. That's what we do here. We still, we might have discussions about monogamy or finances or whatever else that scares us. But we want to be able to have those conversations with people who we're romantically involved with without the fear that they're going to run away from us. And it's a challenge, because we're so afraid if we've already identified this person has the love that we need, because we don't want to lose it. And we want to remind ourselves at that point that we can never lose love. We just want to gently remind ourselves that that is who we are. And then once we do that, be involved with people, have these romantic relationships, and pay attention to ourselves. How much our ego gets in the way, and how much sometimes I'm not honest with you because I'm so afraid of losing you, because I've already identified that you have what my ego needs for me to feel complete. And that is what we do in this world. This is what special love is. And, I think the only formula, so to speak, to be with this is to basically do what the Course is telling us. Is to be aware simply, this is what we do here, and how insane it is. but how it also keeps us stuck. Because, you know, even if, well, I got this person, it's great, but it didn't work out, but, you know, there's somebody over here I'll get, you know, the ego's ravenous. And the world will provide us many opportunities to find love outside of ourselves. But at one point we'll realize none of what we've done, whether it's a person or a job, has really filled the lack within me. And that's the point where we'll begin to say, well, maybe I've been wrong. Maybe I should release myself as my own teacher because I have been poorly taught. And that will be the shift where we begin to let go of us doing it our way. And we become like that tenderized steak. And then we're just with somebody because we want to be with them. And we see their issues, we see their stuff, we see their ego. We no longer jump into their classroom. You know, we let them be upset with us. We tend to be honest when we really know they're ready to hear the truth. You know, we don't want to use honesty as a way to attack. All those nuanced methods of being in a real loving, reflected way with people. Because the way of the world thus far, clearly if we pay attention, hasn't worked. How many people do we know where we have a relationship for a couple of years, it doesn't work? Well, did they have love back then and now it's gone? Love doesn't come and go. It just is. The form may change, and there's nothing wrong with relationships changing form. If you're involved with somebody, you know, and later on we evolve as people and so on and so forth, and you may step away from that relationship. But that doesn't mean that love is gone. We don't want to give power to form, only the content of our heart where people can truly be who they are. Not easy to do because we're so afraid, but the first step again is just realizing this is what we're doing. That's the first step to letting it go. So, thank you very much again for visiting my channel. I hope that today's video was interesting to you. If it was, please hit a like. Feel free to subscribe or leave any comments. It probably won't be the last time I do a video about relationships because they are fundamentally the most challenging things in our life. You know, whether they're our lovers or our colleagues or our friends, where we're so afraid. But the reassurances, the hope comes from as we work on ourselves to realize we're all afraid. And it's okay. You know, let people have their journey, have ours. And I think to the extent that we can do that, real love, not special love, will be present. So thank you very much, and I will look forward to chatting with you again in a future video.